Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kuli English podcast. It's me, your host, Chris. So today is Sunday, November 2nd, and this episode is going to go up on November 4th. And by the way, the year is 2025. Of course, I always make this joke about how it would be great if 100 years later somebody's listening to this podcast and they're thinking like, oh, November 2nd, but which year? Well, the year is 2025. And anyways, so in the last two episodes, I didn't do the episodes alone. I recorded with someone named Mari-san, who's a Japanese theater actress in Tokyo. And I thought the episodes were really good. So I was really happy with them. And we had, like, if you haven't listened to the episodes, to just give you a short little summary, the first episode was we just talked about Mari-san's life and then how come she can speak English so well, and then kind of asked her about, you know, her experience as a child actress, I guess, like working in like musical theater stuff as a child, even before she's like an adult. And then, so it was about her life and stuff, and then a little bit about English stuff and Japanese stuff. And then in the second episode that we recorded, I made up this game called Accent Game, where basically I play a bunch of different audio recordings, and then she has to guess. So I don't give her any hints or anything, but I just ask like, oh, so, you know, based on this audio recording, do you think this person is like a native English speaker, or like what kind of accent do you think they have? And all the audio samples, I don't know if I really mentioned in the episode, but all of them are like recording samples that people who listen to this podcast have submitted. So either that or like friends of mine who don't listen to the podcast, but they are fine to help out. So they submitted the stuff. And I made sure not to mention any like too much personal details. So like, you know, people have a certain accent and like I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll mention their first name or something. But I didn't talk about like, you know, where they live or like, you know, their last name or anything like that. So that way it's just kind of general. And I also want to say that, you know, some of the people who submitted to the thing, probably they want they want a little bit of like attention for maybe like their podcast that they do, or maybe for some kind of YouTube thing that they do. And I'm sorry if I, you know, disappointed those people by not mentioning it specifically, but just to keep it really simple, I didn't give too much details about each person. I just wanted to add that to this episode, even though it's actually really for the previous episode. So anyways, I'm really excited to talk to you in this episode about some recent stuff that I've been doing. And well, I'll tell you what it is, and then we're going to go and take a break. But I'm going to be talking to you about something called a sabage, which is like a survival game. It, like in English, it kind of means like survival game, but that's kind of weird. What it really means is like an airsoft battle game, which I did for the first time here in Japan. But before that, let's take a short little break. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to tell you about this sabage that I went to, a survival game or airsoft battle game. And first off, before I talk to you about this, I need to explain to you like what an airsoft gun is. So probably most people know what an airsoft gun is. An airsoft gun is kind of like a toy gun, and it shoots tiny foam bullets. Okay, so not real bullets. And if it hits someone, it doesn't hurt, it just annoys them. They're made of like tiny little cushions. And then you shoot it, and it's usually meant for kids. So in the US, like growing up, I had a couple. Like my younger brother had some, and I had some. And then, you know, sometimes we shoot each other. And if you shoot it onto like a glass window, then it has like a suction thing, and then it sticks to it, things like, and then if you like pull that, it goes, and then like pops out. It's kind of like that. It's like a suction bullet thing. And then, so those are usually very safe. You can't really hurt someone with that. Of course, if you shoot someone in the eye, then, you know, touching anyone in the eye, like hurts. Okay, so like you can use the gun and like hit them on the head or something. So nothing is like 100% safe, but it is pretty safe. It's not like if you shoot someone like in the chest, like they'll bleed or something. You're not going to bleed from an airsoft thing. But so this is the airsoft gun, okay, and that's the image that comes up if I say airsoft gun. But I actually had to look it up because I never did any of this like actual like adults battling each other with guns until I grew up, and then I lived in Tokyo, and then I went to this thing last week. So I had to look all the stuff up in Japanese because the people who introduced me, it was like every single person was Japanese except for me. And so like, I'm looking it up. I'm like, oh, how do you even say this in English? I don't know. So I just want to say this because sometimes people think, oh, Chris, because you're a native English speaker, you must know how to say anything that you come across in life in English. And the answer is kind of no, because sometimes you come across things that you only know in that particular language. So another example is like, I think certain kinds of fish in Japan, like if you go to a sushi restaurant, there's actually a lot of different kinds of fish. And I know like a lot of different fish in Japanese, but I don't know what they are in English. And like, if I see the actual fish, I'm not going to be like, oh, that's a sockeye salmon or that's a bluefin tuna. I don't know. I just hear those names like, written on the package at the supermarket when I eat it, but I don't actually know what the real fish look like. And then because sushi restaurants in the US aren't as like advanced as, I don't know if advanced is the right word, but they're not as like popular and they're not as like big as in Japan, then, if you go to a US sushi store, you probably won't know that like, oh, this is a yellowtail. Oh, this is a mackerel. I actually don't even know what those are, even though I probably eat those regularly here in Japan. So anyways, that's just a really long way for me to say like, yeah, sometimes I don't know how to say stuff in English and I'm technically a native English speaker. So if you can't figure out how to say something in English, then you don't need to feel bad. So anyways, this airsoft gun, like this thing that I mentioned, that is the image, right? And there's actually a different kind of gun, which ends up being kind of like a little bit more dangerous, but it's a little bit cooler. And this is for people who probably are a certain age. So the airsoft gun that I just mentioned, the Nerf gun, Nerf is like the brand, and it shoots like air stuff. It uses air to pump the stuff, and then it shoots a little foam bullet. But the actual like adult version of that is it doesn't shoot these foam bullets that stick to the glass. It's what you call the BB gun. So it's got these tiny little plastic pellets. And they're like really small balls of plastic and they're supposed to be okay for the environment. So even if you leave them somewhere, like eventually it's okay for the environment. It doesn't cause any problems. And then the gun is actually kind of stronger. And then like these are like electricity powered or like gas powered. And then they shoot the thing like pretty far. Okay, so the airsoft gun, you shoot it and like you can't really reach too far. Like it's kind of like a thick foam bullet. And it's not going to go that far. But the BB gun, that's made for bigger people, made for like older people. And those cost more too. Like they'll cost somewhere between like 1,000,000 yen or 2,000,000 yen, which is like about, let's say $70 to, I don't know, $140, something like that. And then so they actually shoot pretty far. And so the sabage, the thing that I went to is basically there's like, I don't know how many people. There's probably like 20, 23 people, 22 people. And everyone has the adult kind of guns, not real guns that like, actually kill people, but just guns that shoot the plastic little pellets. And then we split up into two teams and then we fight each other. And we have different rules, like sometimes you have something where it's like, okay, let's just do elimination. So you keep going until like one entire team is out. So if you get hit with that, oof, then you probably feel it or you like hear it or something and you have to like report like, okay, I got hit. And then so if you get hit, then you like raise your hand, you raise your gun, and then you kind of walk out of the arena. And if you see someone in their hands raised, then it's like the rules are you don't shoot them because they already got hit. And then eventually, one team, the red team or the yellow team, eventually they beat everyone else on the other team and it's yay, and then it's victory. Either that or after 10 minutes pass, then it's okay, time's up, and then whichever team has more people surviving, then they win. And that's like kind of like the basic version of like a team battle. And it was actually really, really fun. But let me also tell you about the clothes that you have to wear. So this kind of stuff, again, the kids version, like the airsoft gun, that one's got little foam bullets. And that one, if you shoot someone and you hit them in the cheek or something, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really hurt. But the plastic one, that one actually does hurt. So even adults are kind of stronger than kids. And if like someone shoots your hand or something, like actually you might bleed, and it kind of hurts. It kind of hurts big time. So what you want to do is you want to wear like armor. It doesn't have to be armor, but just clothes are fine. So if you're wearing like a t-shirt and on top of that you have like a jacket, and then someone shoots you in the stomach, it's not going to hurt at all. You're going to feel it. You're going to be like, oh, I think something touched me. It's like someone threw a piece of rice at you or like some like food at you, like really, really quickly, but a really small piece of food. And you'll hear it. You'll hear like, oh, I think something hit me. And then if you're wearing just a t-shirt and then someone hits you and you just have that t-shirt, then maybe it might hurt. But if you have like multiple layers, it doesn't hurt at all. And I was telling this to my other friend. I was telling him, "Oh, dude, you got to try this sabage. It's like really fun." And then he was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, sure." And he actually heard about it from like an anime. And I was like, "Oh, that's really cool. You can learn about these things from like anime." Anime really prepares you for life in Japan. I thought that was pretty funny. But anyways, so the clothes that you have to wear, you can wear your own clothes and that's fine. But it's also good to rent additional clothes, and then you can wear like kind of like thicker pants, and then maybe like an additional like extra jacket on the outside. So actually, these kinds of games are really great to play in like the fall or maybe a little bit into winter when it's a little bit colder. Because when it's colder, you want to wear more clothes, and if you wear more clothes, when people shoot you, then it doesn't hurt. And not only that, but it's also really important for you to wear like goggles and a mask. And you want to cover basically any open part of yourself. So if you have like a jacket and you have sleeves that cover your arm, and then you have gloves that cover your hand, well, in between that area, in your wrist area, make sure that part's covered too. Because if you get really unlucky, then let's say you're playing the survival game, sorry, not the survival game, you're playing the airsoft battle game, BB gun battle, and then someone shoots you right in that area, that opening, then it's going to hit you on the skin, and then it's going to hurt a little bit. You might bleed a little bit, you might get bruised a little bit. It's not really that nice to get hurt, so, just try not to get hurt. And for me, I didn't get hurt at all, but like at one point I got hit on the finger, and my finger, actually, I'm not going to show it because there's no need to show it. I'm not trying to tell you that, oh, I'm in a lot of pain and I need your support or something like that. But, it got kind of red and it hurt for like a day. And then the next day I was like, okay, it's not so bad. But then sometimes like when I wash my hands or when I'm showering, I feel like, it stings a little bit. Ooh, it hurts a little bit. So the sabage was absolutely amazing. And maybe let's take a short little break here, and then I'll talk to you about like the rules about when we played. And if you don't like it, you can feel free to skip the rest of this episode, but I'll try to talk about it in an interesting way. But for now, let's take a short little break. All right, so let's continue talking about this survival game thing / airsoft battle or whatever, or a BB gun battle. I think it's easiest to call it like a BB gun battle, because if you say like an airsoft battle, it makes it sound like you're shooting the little things that don't hurt, but you're actually shooting BB guns, which shoot little plastic beads called BBs, and that hurts. So anyways, let me tell you about the specific rules of this. And this is really, I don't know if it's going to be super interesting, but it is probably like a good way to practice listening to like English and seeing if you understand it. But let me go ahead and start. I'll do my best to explain it, and I'll try to explain it in a way that's easy to understand. So first of all, we have about like 22 people, maybe 23 people. So we can have like 11 people versus 11 people. Like you split the teams evenly. And we have a red team and a yellow team. And then depending on which team you are, you have to wear like a little band on both of your arms. So you can wear all your armor, you can wear all your clothes, and it's fine. You can even wear like fancy cool stuff, whatever you want. Some people brought like, special camouflage stuff or like special shirts that kind of look cool. And but it doesn't matter what you wear, you have to wear the band thing, and that kind of identifies which team you're on. So if you're on the red team, you have two little things wrapped around both of your arms, and it's like all red, and it shows that you're on the red team. And if you're on the yellow team, then you wear like yellow bands on both of your arms. So after you split into teams, then as I mentioned, there's a couple different game modes. And the first game mode that I mentioned, and I already talked about it a little bit before, it's just like a death match. I think that's what you call it. But you have both teams, and then you start on opposite sides, and then you kind of go wherever you want, and then you try to shoot the other people. and then shoot the other team. If you're on the red team, you try to shoot like the yellow team people, and then the yellow team people try to shoot the red team people. And if you get hit, then you have to report and say like, I got hit, and then you get out. If you get hit once, you're done. If you get hit by something and it barely touches you, you're out. You're supposed to go out. And then, of course, some people will be like, oh, I didn't get hit, even though they got hit. And they have a term for this. They call this like a zombie or a ghost. And it's just like someone who is out, but they won't go out. And so, they're kind of not playing by the rules, and people should play by the rules. Just play by the rules. So anyways, that's a death match. And then now let's go ahead and make it a little bit more complicated. So there was one other version that I think was also really popular that we played. And this one, I don't really know like what the name for it is in English, but basically there's like two teams and they have different roles. Like one is the attacking team and one is the defense team. And so like in the arena, and by the way, this arena is really cool. It's got like a bunch of grass stuff, a bunch of trees. So you can even hide like, in the bushes or something. And then they have like a bunch of buildings, and the buildings are like really small buildings with like a first floor and a second floor with windows. So then, you can imagine that people will want to go up to the second floor and then set up and then try to like shoot people from the window. And it's kind of fun. But they also have like these like buzzer stations. So like a buzzer is kind of like a button that if you press it, it goes buzz. So it's just like a special button like room. It's like the size of a telephone booth. So, like a telephone booth is like one of those like small squares where like it's got room for maybe one person, and you go inside and then you can, put in some coins and then make a phone call or something. But instead of having like a telephone, you just have like one button, and then it has a big number, and it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, or it's like A, B, C, or D. So there's like 8 different ones. And then so what happens is that the defense team has to protect one of these buzzers. So maybe it's just like number 3. So buzzer number 3. So there's this like small little telephone booth thing that just has a buzzer inside. And you can call it a flag, call it whatever you want. But the enemy team, they are trying to go into that buzzer area and press the buzzer for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. So it can't just be press the buzzer and then you're good. You have to press and hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. And then you win. But of course, the defense team is going to be trying to defend that. So anyone who tries to come, then they'll like, shoot you. And then you get hit. And then if you get hit, then you have to be like, okay, I'm out. And that's kind of like the game. So the attacking team is attacking. They're trying to hit the button. And the defense team, they just kind of set up and they try to defend. And that's kind of like the overall rules. And there's a little bit more to it. Let me explain a tiny bit more. And it's a 10-minute game. So all these games, they don't go for more than 10 minutes. Because if it's too long, then, sometimes you have people that are hiding, and then other people are hiding, and then they don't really fight, and then nobody dies, and then everyone just has to wait. And that's not very good. So what you do is you set a time limit. You say, okay, so at maxed, the max amount of time that we are going to play this is 10 minutes. So if you go, and then if nothing really happens, at least you know that the maximum is 10 minutes. So what happens is, in this attacking part, you have like 2 phases. And it's like for the first 5 minutes, the attacking team, if they die, if they get shot, then they can actually just go back to their base and then they can revive. And so revive meaning like even if you're out, even if you're dead, you just have to walk back to your base. You can actually run too, and then it's faster. But you run back to your base, and then you touch your base, you touch the wall, and then you can revive and you can come back and go back and attack. But that's only for the first 5 minutes. And then in the last 5 minutes, you can't revive anymore. So it's like kind of good to go and attack the defending team, try to get it. And then if they don't get it, then okay, they just go back to their home base and then revive. But then in the last 5 minutes, they're like, oh, wait, I only have 1 life, so I have to not get shot. So you can't really play as aggressive. You can't go and like super attack, because if you get hit, then you're going to be out, and you don't want to be out. And the defense team, they don't get any revives. So right from the beginning, if they get shot, they're out for the whole 10 minutes. So you don't want to get shot in the beginning. You want to like hide and set up. But the cool thing about this kind of game is like the people who are defending are always kind of at an advantage. It's always easier to defend because you can like hide inside a building and just wait. And the moment somebody slowly walks by, bam, you get them. And it's like, of course, it's easier to like wait for them to come. And then you kind of set up like a trap and then you get them. But the attacking team has like the advantage of they can revive. So this is like I think they call it like capture the flag. But capture the flag, actually, I think capture the flag is not really a good name for it because it kind of implies something else. Capture the flag in all other kinds of games, usually it's like an equal thing. It's not like an attack and defense thing. It's like you both can attack and you both can defend. So I think it's a different kind of game mode. But anyways, that was really fun. Anyways, let's take a short little break here and then we'll continue. All right, so let's go ahead and make our way into this last part of this podcast. And this podcast might be a little bit short, but, whatever. Sometimes we have some longer episodes and sometimes we have some shorter episodes. So I just told you about all this like podcast, sorry, not podcast stuff, but the game rules. And it's not that I need you to understand the game rules because we're going to play, but I wanted to try explaining it because I think sometimes when I play Japanese board games and someone else is explaining the rules in Japanese, like I always find it kind of interesting that the words that people use when they try to explain rules, it's a little bit different than the words that they use when they talk about daily life stuff. So, if I were to tell you about, like I had some really good ramen the other day or something like that, then I would be using like kind of different ways of speaking than when I explain to you rules. Like, all right, if you get shot, you need to put your hand up. Either hand is okay. Put your gun up and say, I got hit. That way you don't get hit more. It's like a different way of speaking and you use like different words. But, in the end, they're all kind of useful. So I think it's good to kind of expose yourself to these kinds of things. But I should mention that, I've been in Japan for 2.5 years. And like sometimes I play board games in Japanese with Japanese friends. And normally when I talk with Japanese friends, like I kind of understand most things about like everyday conversation stuff. If people are telling me about, like I had a bad day at work, or like if people are saying, there was this scam or something, like someone called me and it was a scam or something, like I have no problem like understanding that. But when I actually play board games in Japanese with Japanese people, when people explain the rules, there are a lot of terms that I think you don't really use in everyday life. And that's, for example, like in English, a lot of board games, they center around something called like victory points. And victory points are just kind of like, you want lots of points, and then whoever ends the game with the most victory points wins. And it's like different from real life, I guess, because in the board game, you have to say like, if you do this, then you win. If you do this, you lose. And if you do that, then something else happens. If you do that, then you lose a card. If you do that, you can take a card from someone else. There's like a lot of individual special rules. So not only is the language a little bit different, but you also have to understand like, how things work. So I always thought like board games are kind of fun and it's kind of cool. And it's kind of a challenge. It's a challenge to play a board game in a language that's not your native language, for sure. So that's why I thought like, maybe I'll try explaining like the deathmatch rules and then like the attack and defense, I don't know what you call it, the capture the flag rules. And I thought I might also tell you about the rest of the day too. So number one, they only have like one food there. So, sometimes like you go to some event, like an arcade or something, and a lot of the time they have like like a cafeteria. They have like, we've got pizza, we've got burgers, we've got lots of junk food for you if you want to eat it. Come and bring your money, and then, you hang out, and then if you're tired, you can buy your popcorn, you can buy your soda or whatever. And then this place, they only had one food. There's no like multiple kinds of junk food. They have like a microwave where you can use it if you want. And then they have curry, just a lot of Japanese curry. And then I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I didn't really expect much from the Japanese curry because it was kind of like, well, we're getting curry and this place is kind of like in the middle of nowhere. I didn't expect it to be good, but it was really good. It was fantastic curry. And it was also really cheap too. Like the curry was like 600 yen for a portion of like curry rice. And I remember before the curry, like when we were driving up, we'd take a little pit stop. A pit stop meaning we just take a short stop, maybe at a convenience store for something, and then we're going to continue. But we took a pit stop, And then at the convenience store, then I bought a bunch of rice balls. I bought like 3 rice balls and then like some snacks, some drinks. And I was like, I got to make sure that if the curry sucks or if the curry is like really a small portion, then I'm going to be okay. So then I bought a bunch of stuff and then I ate a bunch. And then like when the curry actually came out, I took the first bite and I was like, holy crap, this is great. And then I was thinking like, all right, I probably ate too much. But I'm kind of talented at eating. I'm good at eating. So I ate my 3 onigiris and then I also ate the curry and then I ate my chips and then I drank my tea thing. I drank the hot water thing that I got. I drank the water. It was just, I ate everything and it was great. And then, right after that, the funny thing is I think a lot of other people, after they eat, then they move kind of slower. And then for me, like if I eat a bunch, I don't really know why, but I was like, oh yeah, I got all this energy. And so I'm ready to go. And then so, they're like, all right, game start. And then I'm like running. I'm like the only one running. And everyone else is like, we just ate a bunch of curry. We gotta walk and go slow. But that was pretty great. The curry was fantastic. And then also, of course, like as always, I think I talked about this before in the Okinawa episode, but basically, when you have these kinds of trips, it's not just about, the place that you're going to, it's also about the journey. So like in the car ride, there's always some interesting conversations. And I don't know if you remember, or maybe you haven't listened to the previous episode where I talked about like the conversation in Okinawa where I talked about superpowers. What kind of superpower would you want? Do you want teleportation, or do you want to be able to like read people's minds, or like, and then that kind of conversation was pretty fun. But this time, I think because the group that we went with, we were basically in 2 different cars. Like one car was huge, and that car had a bunch of people who smoke, and I don't really smoke, so I was in the no smokers car. We had like maybe 8 people in that car, and then on the way up, well, a lot of people actually didn't know each other in the first place. So some people like knew like one other person, maybe 2 other people, but nobody knew everybody. There were a lot of people that were attending for the first time, or people who were from out of town. They're from Nagoya, not Tokyo. And then there's like me, who I don't know anyone except like the 2 friends that invited me. And then so on the way up, then the conversation is kind of like different. It's different from a group of friends. It's like a bunch of people that are meeting each other for the first time. But then at some point, I think someone also kind of drew me into the conversation, and people were talking about thing. They're like, "Oh, how much does it hurt? Oh man, you should have told me that it hurt. Oh no, like if it hurts that much, then maybe I shouldn't have gone." And I don't know if it's a joke. It's probably like half of a joke. And then people were kind of like, "Oh, you, Chris. So you're not Japanese? Oh, you're American? Oh, okay. So what's something that after you moved to Japan, you thought was like kind of like crazy?" And, I was like, what do you mean crazy? And they're like, just something that was kind of different from the US. And then I had an example that came up right away. And that was just, when people in Japan, they go into someone else's house, they have this like habit or like this culture where they have to say a certain phrase before they go into a stranger's house. And, I think in the US, like, it's like, okay, here's my house. All right. And then they go in. Maybe they don't say anything. Maybe they say, oh, wow, your house is nice or something. But there's no like set phrase where you say like, I am now going to enter your house. But in Japanese, there is a phrase that is, I'm now going to enter your house. And everybody says it before you enter someone else's house. And that is, ojama shimasu. And the jama means like to like kind of bother or like to interrupt or like to interfere. And so that phrase kind of means like, oh, like I'm now going to bother you, or like I'm now going to like interfere with your household or something like that. And what it really means is like, oh, like thank you for inviting me. I'm now going to respect your house or something like that. But I just thought it was really funny that everyone like would say this phrase, and then like I never really fully understood it. But even though now I still don't fully understand like the deep meaning of it, I say it when I go to other people's houses. It's like, all right. I mean, you can just say it, and if you don't really mean it, it doesn't matter, because probably most people, when they say it, they also don't really mean anything by it. So that was like one thing, and I was like, oh yeah, I talked about that, and people were like, oh wow, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense. By the way, what do you think of pizza and burgers and stuff? And then the conversation continued, and then like like in this car, like I'm the token like foreigner guy. I'm the token American guy. And then I tell them like, oh yeah, I think burgers and pizza taste better in the US. And people are like, oh wow, yeah, it sounds like an American. Yeah, an American likes burgers and pizza. And there's also one other thing that I want to tell you. So like actually just earlier today, I had some hot dogs. I went to the supermarket and I got like some sausages, and I was going to get like the Japanese wieners, but then I saw like my favorite brand of like American sausages, which is Johnsonville. And then Johnsonville, I've loved Johnsonville as a kid. It's really bad for you. It's not healthy. It's got a lot of fat, a lot of preservatives. It's not very healthy for you, but it's good. And then I had it recently and I was thinking like, man, I love hot dogs. I love hot dogs. But I know that if I tell that to Japanese people, people are going to be like, wow, you're so American. You like hot dogs. So like, I'm thinking like, I love hot dogs. But what I say is like, yeah, hot dogs are pretty good. It's like very, very calm. I'm like holding back. So maybe that's enough to talk about the sabage, the survival game. And I just, before I finish, I'll also mention that I think it's just a really good thing overall to do it. But if you are going to do it, you need to absolutely make sure that you are getting super covered on all parts of your body. And like, you need to be properly covered. So not like really thin things. You don't want like really thin gloves, like maybe like gloves for food preparation or something. No. You want like thick gloves, like snowboarding gloves. Something that if someone were to like slap you there or like to poke you with like chopsticks or something on that spot, you're not going to be hurt. And then if you have that, then you will not be hurt at all. It's impossible to get hurt if you are completely covered everywhere. So I think you can have a great time, but if you're going to do it, make sure that you are properly covered, spend the money or like borrow a friend's gear or like ask people that have done it before. Just make sure that you're not setting yourself up so that you don't get like a little injury, and injuries suck. If you have a great day and you have a lot of fun, you want to be able to go home and sleep well without any injuries. But for me, I got a small little thing on my finger and I had a great time. I had a lot of fun, but even a couple days later, even after 4 days, even now when I shower, I get this little stinging feeling. It kind of hurts on my finger, washing my hands with soap. And when I put the soap, I have this thought in my mind that's like, oh, I know that if I do this soap and I put it in that area, it's going to hurt. But it's okay. People heal and people adapt. And the next time I go, I'm going to be using proper equipment. So maybe we can end with that. So again, thanks so much for listening until the end of this episode. And as always, if you want to support me, feel free to support me in whatever way you want. I'm actually thinking about starting like a Discord server for people who listen to the podcast. And the Discord server is just so that people can chat about English, or maybe if they have questions about Japan, or just anything about English, then people can kind of exchange with each other. It's kind of like a little community. And you don't have to do anything. You can just join. I'm thinking about it, but I actually don't really know if the people who listen to this are consistently listening to each episode. Because for me, when I look at the metrics, all I see are just, oh, people listen this many times, or in this week, this many people listened. But I don't know if they're the same people. And if it's the same people, for example, I listen to the same Japanese podcast by the same guy, and I love his stuff. And I didn't actually join his Discord, but I think it would actually be pretty cool if I could interact with the people who actually listen. So I'm thinking about making that. And if you're interested in that, feel free to comment. Maybe you're too embarrassed to comment in a public thing. You can also just send me a message on Instagram or like a private message on YouTube. I don't really know how that works, but I'm sure it exists. So, feel free to let me know if you're interested in such a thing. If there's at least a couple people that are interested, I'll make it, and we can kind of make a community. So with that, thanks so much for listening until the end, until the real end. And I hope to see you next Tuesday on Kuli English Podcast.